Good afternoon, everybody. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio Sinoland. Before we get started, I research, synthesize, and contextualize all kinds of news and information to put it together to tell you what's really going on in the headlines that you don't find very often anyplace else. Please take a moment before getting started to go to either Patreon, fundraiser, or PayPal and make a contribution to support all my hard work, regardless of the amount. Thank you. All right, here we go. Trump is going public with what is commonly denied. The USA has the most corrupt electoral system in the world. For the 99%, they are screwed either way. Pictured above, love or hate him, Donald Trump is the perfect sledgehammer to fully expose the USA's corrupt, institutionalized electoral system, which started in 1776 and has never stopped. The 1% aristocratic oligarchs are even censoring him for telling the truth because they have a lot to lose. On both sides of the political aisle, be aware of Eurangloland's big lie propaganda machine brainwashing power. Here we go. In book number 2 of the China trilogy, called China Rising, I wrote a very informative chapter called A Tale of Two Democracies, What It Is Like to Vote in the United States Compared to France. Since I'm a dual national, I vote in both countries, and the differences are like night and day. Thus, I quickly learned how transparent and accountable the voting process is in France, while the U.S. system was designed from the very beginning in the Constitution to be corrupt and undemocratic. Without even getting into the whole aristocratic origins of the Electoral College, all the vote rigging in the U.S. Constitution, all the disenfranchisement of the poor, blacks, reds, browns, and yellows. What is largely not understood is that in the U.S., each state's governor is responsible for guaranteeing the honesty or lack thereof of counting the votes. Democrats and Republicans lie, cheat, steal, bribe, extort, blackmail, use psyops, false flags, frame-ups, and assassinations as a routine part of Western governance. Do you believe that either party in power in a U.S. state is going to accurately count all those hacked hard drives and opaque ballot boxes that disappear into the night? By the way, this article is full of informative hyperlinks that I researched, so you do go to it too if you want to follow up. It's a farce and a sick joke to think otherwise. The U.S. election rigging began in 1776 and has never stopped. Yankees are even proud of all this corruption and revel wallowing in the electoral cesspool. It's all part of our Marlboro Man, Wild West, hustler, whatever it takes to win, winner takes all, dog eat dog, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. What's mine is mine, what's yours is mine. The end justifies the means, ethos. Nevertheless, we insist on spouting the big lie propaganda machine, the BLPM, brainwashing fiction that we supposedly have a representative democracy. Okay, maybe for precinct school board elections, state questions, and local property tax millage assessments. But starting with state-level legislatures, governors, and judges, all bets are off. After diving into this sewage lagoon, most candidates on the losing end step out, clean off the stench, accept the status quo, and start planning to be on the winning side the next time, like Richard Nixon did in 1960 and then winning in 1960. He lost in 1960 and then he won in 1968. And if your candidate gets into office by cheating, like Kennedy in 1960 or Bush in 2000, you celebrate, thus reinforcing the built-in corrupt system. However, Donald Trump is different. As much as he is hated and reviled, as megalomaniac and demagogic as he is, as flamboyant and outrageous is his modus operandi, I tip my hat to him for trying to drain the fetid U.S. swamp, exposing the BLPM for all its fake news, calling bullshit on all the ersatz, quote, liberals, and unmasking the phony Democratic Party for what it is and has been since 1980. It's just Party D married at the oligarchic, neoliberal, neocon, worldwide Wehrmacht, imperial colonialist, global capitalist hip with Party R, laughably hiding behind the facade of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's FDR, his New Deal, and Lyndon B. Johnson's LBJ, his Great Society. This U.S. kakistocracy is a dangerous and destructive mirage since nothing gets better for the U.S.'s and global 99%. At least the Republicans are more open and honest about their geopolitical goals and economic policies. Other than identity politics, God, guns, gays, and abortion, since the 1970s, the U.S. is openly owned lock, stock, and barrel by the global capitalist party on both sides of the aisle. It is hard to imagine what FDR and LBJ accomplished for the common U.S. citizen. For a few brief decades, we got thrown some food scraps and breadcrumbs off the 1%'s sumptuous, overflowing banquet table. Here's an alphabetical list of FDR's New Deal. The 40-hour work week, Civil Works Administration, the CWA, the Civil Conservation Corps, the CCC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC, the Federal Housing Administration, FHA, the Federal Security Agency, the FSA, the Glass-Steagall Act, Homeowners Loan Corporation, the HOLC, minimum wage pay, overtime/vacation pay, Public Works Administration, the PWA, the Security and Exchange Commission, the SEC, small farmer support programs and subsidies, Social Security retirement benefits, the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA, unemployment pay, unionization via the National Industrial Recovery Act, the NIRA, and the Works Progress Administration, the WPA. And LBJ's Great Society gave us, in alphabetical order, the Child Safety Act, Civil Rights Act, Consumer Production Safety Commission, Head Start programs for children in schools, Medicaid for the poor, handicapped, and disabled, Medicare for the elderly, Motor Vehicle Air Pollution Control Act, National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, Urban Renewal, Voting Rights Act, the War on Poverty, and the Water Quality Act. Continuing on, most of the 99% supporting New Deal programs were adopted from Soviet communism socialism, and most of LBJ's people-powered programs are part and parcel of today's communist, socialist, anti-imperialist countries like China, Russia, and Iran. Of course, the West BLPM brainwashes you to keep you from knowing all this. All these programs could still be enforced today unadulterated. We regular working stiffs can only look back nostalgically at what FDR and LBJ did for us when the American dream was working for the majority. But the 1% are relentless in their pursuit to own it all, 110%. It goes without saying that only liberal Democrats and Republicans during the New Deal and Great Society and up to the 1970s supported these people-serving, progressive, populist, yes, socialist programs. Nevertheless, from the time the ink dried on all these laws, most of the other U.S. politicians worked night and day in service to Wall Street, the military-industrial complex, and gangster banksters to defund, deregulate, privatize, subvert, and abolish them. Starting in 1980, they didn't even have to hide it. Being a neoliberal neocon became a badge of honor as they clawed back and continued to do so all the safety nets, socioeconomic solidarity, and common sense programs to improve the lives of the 99%, while keeping everybody divided and confused by inane identity politics so they overlook being raped and robbed by both parties. Their hatred of the poor, minorities, and working class citizens has been and is wildly successful, continuing. If the U.S. 99% ever wants to hope for a better, more just, and equitable future, a good place to start is tearing down Eurangloland's most corrupt electoral system. If you are glad that Biden can steal the election because you hate Trump, then long-term improvement in your and your children's future will never happen. Being visionary means making short-term sacrifices. That being the case, I sincerely hope that Donald Trump follows through to the very end, sticks to his guns, and fully exposes this official cesspool, which is hiding behind its derisory propaganda of, quote, pluralistic democracy. He's perfect for the job. In closing, below is a small sample of reports covering the ongoing theft of the U.S. 2020 presidential election. Even here in France, I'm having to use a VPN to see some of them as they are being censored. You will never find this news in the BLPM, so I recommend you add to your bookmark favorites sites like RT.com, SputnikNews.com, TheGatewayPundit.com, which I just learned about, offguardian.org, and americasvoice.news. You may or may not agree with their worldviews, but oftentimes we need to, quote, cross the political aisle, end of quote, to find out the truth from a different perspective. To wit, 1. The CIA uses a software called Scorecard to hack and change votes. Number 2, the above, 1A. The above is a short outtake from this complete episode. Number 2, the night of 3 November, Biden magically gets 138,000 new votes to 0 for Trump, which is blatant fraud. Number 3, post office worker ordered to backdate late mail-in ballots. Number 4, suppression of Trump votes by rigging electronic ballots. Number 5, Minnesota and Wisconsin, both with Democratic governors, claim 89 to 90% voter turnout, a historical improbability. Number 6, I think it's number 6, letter carrier caught stealing ballots. Number 7, more vote rigging for Biden in Pennsylvania. And then number 8, a recap of the election fraud. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio Sinoland, signing out, and thank you for visiting.